Welcome back to another episode of Galactic Explorers with your favorite channelers, the fabulous Miss Dallas, and myself, Daniella. We're going to be taking you through the everyday, mundane, all the kind of curiosities that you have, that you ask us through that galactic perspective. So today we've kind of got a topic on board that has been coming up not only for us personally, but for a lot of the people that talk to us. And it just seems like 'tis the season. Yeah, so I was gonna say, you have it written down over there, or do you? Do you have it written?
I do.
Okay, because I was gonna say, would you share that with the class if you wouldn't mind, since you have it written down?
Of course. We're going to dive into growing pains with dealing with family and loved ones
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Because we know that even the past year, we've had to be in our homes, the quarantine, and be with our families and be away from certain other family, and it's caused some ripples, and it's caused to look at things in different ways, and you go, what the hell is going on?
Ripples is an understatement.
Tidal waves.
Tidal waves.
Tsunamis. I mean, shit.
What is this, the wave pool? Like, where's that fucking ball? Can I calm that down?
Turn it down, wave puller, man.
But too true. So yeah, all right, that will be that's gonna be our topic for today, is the growing pains working with family and loved ones. So I know this has come up quite a bit for not only me and you and I respectively, but also with, for instance, some of my girls in the academy. You know, they're talking about it. Things that are coming back up for them that, for instance, for them, it has to do quite a bit with their parental figures. Mm-hmm. So it's like who helped raise them and what their expectations are of what life should look like and how it should be done, and what the view and outlook on the world is currently, what their particular reality is showing them. And then they're trying to project that onto their, shall we say, children or grandchildren or, you know, what have you. Mm-hmm. And like you said, that causes quite a bit of ripple, because at this point, I think that a lot of people are getting to the point where it's very much too painful to not actually be yourself.
Yeah, that's
right?
a big
In the
one.
sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's coming around, you know, especially like you said, this year, people were spending more time indoors because they had to. So it gave you time, if you actually took the time, it gave you time to think about who you really are and what you really want as an individual. So then when you go back and interact with these other family members after X amount of time, like some of these girls of mine in the class were sharing, they're really coming up and butting heads because they have now lived in their reality, their personal reality, and their personal view of whatever was going on outside in the world, wherever COVID came from, why it came from, who it's affecting, why it's affecting, all of that. For instance, they were living in their own reality about it. And then you go and you interact with a parental figure who is generally 2 to 3 or more generations older than you. Generation is about what, 15 years or so? 15, 20
yeah,
years.
I think so.
So think about that. Think about what the world was like when they grew up and the kind of perspectives that they're going to have. You immediately have a clash there because people have spent time reevaluating where they are at personally, and then still having to come back now and interact with that old mindset, that old belief system. And it's causing a lot of problems, a lot of growing pains.
I think if anything, it's seeing your belief system and detaching away from that old belief system. And when you go, hey, wait, this isn't mine. This is
Yeah.
not what I really truly believe.
Right.
Right. And I think the world has allowed us to see that
Yep.
through politics and the racism
Yep.
and I mean, just all the changes that we have experienced and all the uprisings that things have happened to, you really go, when your family is speaking out, it's like, it's even mask or no mask, vaccination, no
Oh
vaccination.
yeah.
Is it real? Is it not real? I mean, there's so many layers to so many things,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's all at once and it's really heavy. And you go, wait, if you take the time, like you said, to think, to really ask yourself and to be and go, wait, this is not how I
Yeah.
think,
Ask
feel,
yourself
want
what
to
you
be.
think. Right.
Yeah. And then it's dealing with that family unit, and going, hey, nope, I don't feel comfortable. And you kind of had a permission out, we had a permission slip this whole freaking year of like, nope, we're going to do this and we feel better at this or da 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 da, and standing your ground on certain things or not standing your ground.
Yes.
So where has it got you from not standing your ground?
Correct.
Nowhere. Feeling anger and
Resentment towards
resentfulness
them and
and
yourself because you're not standing your ground. And like we were saying, it's getting more and more painful. People are realizing that we are living in an energetic frequency, space, time that is now literally making it so it is more and more physically painful,
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally painful to not be who you are
Right. And the more that you are
and
yourself,
honor it.
and you stay
Yep.
true and speak up and do the things that make you happy and feel comfortable, you, like you said, you live in your own reality. And then it's easier to even not let those other people affect you or boss you around or make you feel guilty because
Right.
that will be some families do that. They throw the guilt and shame. But
Number one major, major, major thing. I was like gonna say an adaptation, but it's a major adaptation is
mhm.
the guilt.
Oh yeah.
And it's all ego driven.
Mhm.
None of it's real. But either way of kind of the dichotomy of what many of you may be resonating with now internally versus what you're perceiving is the interaction on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that there's no room for compromise in that case.
Correct. Yes.
Because since indeed you are living in your own individual realities, there are going to be things that are just different, but that doesn't mean that different is bad.
Yes.
And that's a big, old, old belief system that humanity is working through right now. Speaking of politics and racism, um, is that whole idea that different, like how you are different from me, isn't a negative. In fact, it's just literally another color in how the universe is expressing itself. So it's equally valid. It's an equally valid point of view as long as everyone can take a step back and hold their own field
Mhm.
instead of trying to impose it on somebody else because that somebody else is different and therefore it's bad. So they have to be like me so they can be good. And that's a big fucking thing to get over because that got
Right.
drilled into us for thousands and thousands and thousands of years into the collective consciousness. If it's different, it's bad. If it's different, it's dangerous.
Right.
And so now we're learning that's like, oh, I myself am actually different. Wait, am I bad? Am I dangerous? No. So therefore, by proxy, right?
Oh, totally. I think it's allowing yourself to question yourself and to question how you were raised, or, circumstances,
And
you
that
know,
goes back all the way too. So it's like our generation, yes, question
right.
how we were raised, but our parents' generation, y'all
Yes.
need to question how you were raised too, boo-boos. We love you. That's the reason why we were born to you, because we love you. We chose. But
Right.
listen here. Like,
We chose to show you something too, to see
yeah,
things in a
this is
different way.
this is
Yeah.
two-way street here, bud. But no, really, it's just the idea of, yeah, it's like questioning what you want to keep about those belief systems that we were raised with, because not all of them are bad, obviously, and not everybody had the same kind of childhood,
Right.
right? So other people have other perspectives to share on how to work with these things and yada yada yada, but it is up to the individual, like you're saying, to take that time to look at and assess for themselves and
Hmm.
look at the old program. So even if, for instance, you're a boomer and you're listening to us, fuck yeah. But we would also, was it like, not suggest isn't quite the word, like we would encourage you to also be looking at what you learned, what you were taught. Does it still resonate with you? Does it still make you feel good about yourself? Do thinking
Hmm.
those things about other people and the world around you really make you feel good on the inside? Or does it just make you feel nasty? Or does it make you feel complacent? Or does it make you feel comfortable? Because that's what you know.
Right.
And these are all things that we're all having to ask ourselves right now,
Right.
which
But
has to
then,
do with the growing pains, which is why there are growing pains, because right now we're growing.
yeah. Ooh, I like that. I think too that it's um damn it, what was I going to say?
So sorry.
It's a growing pains. And I was like, yeah, that's true.
Are you my mommy?
Oh, you mean so for me to be looking at my kids and my kids are showing me stuff? Yes.
Love you, Dallas. I
About
really didn't
being
mean it. I honestly, I swear to God, it just like that. Because I was holding the cup up to my face and I was about to drink from it, right? And then that scene from Doctor Who just popped into my head. Are you my mommy? Because I thought it looked like the gas mask from playing Doctor.
that one really freaked me out. But
I
anyways,
know, right? Yeah, me too.
that one was creepy. That
Yeah,
was a creepy one. My
yeah.
kids did not like that one. Um,
But again, it is that reflection of, it's like everybody's got to be asking themselves, what did we learn and what are we passing on? What are we propagating to our friends? And like, what are we propagating to them? Are we propagating their belief system back to them because that's how they treated us? Or are we going to hold fast and hold firm, like you said, stands resolute in our reality and how we're going to react to things versus the way we got taught to react to things?
right. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I said this to my husband the other day and this is good for anything and everything. And this is a tool that I use. Everybody is a mirror. What are they showing?
Yep.
What are they showing you?
Yep.
Why are you getting mad at yourself, or why are you getting mad at them when maybe it's you?
Right. And it's interesting because it's not always a direct one-to-one reflection.
No.
So for instance, it's like, if you consider yourself, like somebody that follows their passion and is good to others, and then all of a sudden, you find yourself manifesting an asshole for a boyfriend, like that doesn't mean that it's reflecting to you somewhere in there that you're an asshole. It
But they're
is
there showing you something too.
right. It's there to reflect to you that opportunity to see how you'll react to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
That.
say you're like this. You say you're like this. You say you believe in this. Well, how much do you believe in it? You're going to give yourself a little test every now and again. So it doesn't have to be a one-to-one reflection. And it's not testing you in the hopes that you'll fail. It's testing you in the hopes that you succeed and that you figured it out, what you need to figure out about your reaction to that.
Right.
And it'll keep giving it to you. That's the thing, like the mirror. It will continue to give you that reflection, regardless of the character that plays it,
Mm-hmm.
until you figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. And there's different layers of it.
Absolutely. 1,000,000%.
That's one that the past year that my kids have showed us more than anything. Of just like, okay, what am I not doing? What am I not showing them? Or how am I not living where they are? Like it's just there's different aspects of it, and
Mhm.
it's not holding on to one thing or blaming myself or blaming them for, it's just going, okay, I'm going back and forth. It's a dancing game, right? Like
Absolutely.
you go, I go, you go, or I go, and then you go, right? So it's just like where to navigate and where not to drain yourself at the
Mhm.
same time.
Because at
Uh,
some point, speaking of not draining yourself, is you do kind of have to let them do what they're going to do.
yes.
Particularly when you're talking about, for instance, parents or grown adult significant others. A little less kids, because like you don't want them to run out into the street because that could end the game very quickly for them. Um, However, you might want to let them burn their hand on the stove though, just so they know, because experience is the best teacher in a lot of ways, and they're there for their own reasons. So you can show and share with them to a certain degree, but they do have to develop also to a certain degree on their own. So they're kind of like its own children of their own subcategory in a sense. But
No.
for the adults, like your significant other, your parents, sometimes there has to be like a hands off policy so that you don't drain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one that I'm coming to terms with myself, which is hard, to take that hands off policy with certain people, because you want to show that you care about them. You want to care about them, but they continue to make choices that not only don't serve them, but like continue just to perpetuate the cycle of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how often, sometimes with certain people, that you try to share with them a different perspective, because you're not trying to force it on anybody. Like you share it, and if they don't take it, well, then that's their prerogative. But if you share and you share and you share and you share and you share, and they still ain't taking it, they still are not willing to have a look at their own reality. They're still not willing to look at themselves that deeply or change anything about their reality that they're complaining so much about, for instance. Right. Then you just have to go, okay, okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna step away for a minute. It's like step away from the situation, step away from the conversation, step away sometimes even from the person altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, because you have to allow them, in stepping away, you're actually giving them their own free will, even more so now, as to whether or not to decide to make the change or not.
Oh yeah. And that
It's not
gives room
easy.
to for you to see, even for everybody to see on a clear picture, I think, when you step away.
Mm-hmm.
But then also not to get caught up in the emotion of it,
Which is
right? Of
hard.
their own emotions, or
Yep.
even like your own, right? Where you might take it out on yourself of I could have, or why don't they? It's like, nope, like you said, it's free will. You can share your perspective all you want. It's up to them to see it from themselves and to go, oh, okay, I see this in this way, and there's that open communication. But if you can't have an open communication where both are heard and seen and valued, then
Right.
there's no stability,
Right.
especially for adults.
Right. I mean, and it's something that now. We're learning now to be able to teach our kids,
Mm-hmm.
so that they don't have to go through this process of having the battle all the time. because they will just be able to state their piece. The other person will be able to state their piece, and some kind of compromise will be found, or they'll just go their opposite ways. No harm, no foul. You're not required by universal law, because there is nobody checking.
Sure.
You're not required to interact with anybody in particular. There is no hard and fast rule that says if something is you feel continually detrimental to you living in your truth, that you have to stick around to it.
Mm-hmm.
If no compromise can be made time and time and time and time again, and it keeps coming back around to the same stuff, same issues, same problems, same reactions, same reality, time and time and time again, then that is one of those things that you're not required by anybody's rule to continue to interact with them if it's that detrimental to you personally. And you're the only one that can make that decision.
Yeah, it's breaking patterns. It's breaking that
Yeah.
that pattern of, well, this is what has to happen.
Right. And a lot of times it
Because
just needs a breather.
mm-hmm.
A lot of times it just needs a breather so that you're not around the person all the time, or trying to interact with them all the time, or whatever. So that both of you, like you said, both of you then have the space to you've stepped back and can see the forest for the trees, rather than being, all the time, and not being able to
Perfect instant.
articulate what the problem is for you, and be
Mm-hmm.
able to come back constructively and say, okay, well, this is the issue that I had with it. And the other person can go, okay, well, this is the issue I had with it. And be like, oh, well, that was a complete misunderstanding. Oh, well, never mind then. Oh, okay, great.
Right? Oh my gosh, that's the thing. Like
How often does that happen?
I watched a show the other day where this family hadn't speak to each other in 20 years because one person had this view and this other person had this view. So one thought they were mad at each other, but neither was really mad at each other. And so finally they like came together and they were like, well, I'm sorry, I thought you were mad. They're like, well, I thought you were mad at me. They're like, no, I wasn't mad. I was like, 20 years went by.
20 years. That's a whole lifetime.
Instead of,
That's a generation.
And then go, hey, I'm sorry, or hey, let's talk about this or whatever,
Right.
and just get it out and out of the way.
But we're so used to continuing to force the situation to
Mhm.
find a resolution by forcing it, instead of it being okay to actually step away and take a breather.
Yeah. I think it's, especially with
And
the
stepping
kids.
away can look like a lot of different things. Doesn't have to look like, breaking up a 20-year marriage. It doesn't have to be, right?
No. I think you have to, the kids coming up now are starting to learn that they're being their true self, right? Through like, a lot of the, I hope I don't murder this, LGBTQ community, kids coming out, or doing this, or we wanted to be called, certain pronouns, and they're sticking to their guns on this, and race and cultures and this and this and that, right? They're telling their family, this is who I am.
Right.
Right. And that comes to, if whoever you are, wherever you are, as spiritual, witch, whatever, it's still hard to come out and somebody like, this is who I am.
Right. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, this is my life. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. It's breaking those boundaries or cycles of being in the norm from what we're used to. And so I feel like this past year is a big, hey, look at your shit, deal with it. We're moving on to a new chapter of human collective. And and it's starting through my kids and your kids and their kids are going to be so much more evolved than
Oh man.
it's like how we're all turning on different, we tuned in and tuned on. My kids, at
Oh, they're
least I
already
know,
lit. Your kids are lit.
lit up, and it's like, okay, I get it.
Damn. Yeah,
We're in a
totally.
different way where I have to go, you know what? I don't have expectations for my kids. Like, you're not going to go to, you got to go to college and you got to do this and you got to buy a house and then you have to have a family. Like, I don't put that pressure on my kids because that's another pattern, right?
Yep.
You need to be doing this because you're this age.
Well, because that's what will make you successful.
Right. And what is successful anymore? You have people that are on YouTube that are 20 years old that make billions of
Millions.
dollars. Look at Mr. Beast. Go look him up.
Oh, the bodybuilder?
No,
Oh,
he is, I can never say the word. He's a YouTuber guy and he got real big and he makes millions of dollars. And his YouTube videos are about helping people and doing crazy, stupid things, but he spends thousands and thousands of dollars on his videos. Like, he went out to like Best Buy and he like taped off a circle in the middle, and he like grabbed a random person and goes, okay, fill this circle up with anything you want, high as you want, whatever. So they fill it up. He goes, okay, it's all yours. Next person, bigger circle, square, whatever, fill it up. What do you want? You want a house? He buys houses for his people that work for him.
oh shit.
Like, he's amazing. He really is. And he's a young kid. And it's like, this is what our generation is kind of going into, of like,
Mm-hmm.
you can become anything and do anything if your intentions are good.
You can
And
do it however you want if you love it enough.
right, it's really like opening yourself up to that. Not that you have to become a YouTuber, right? But it's
Or
just
whatever
like,
you're passionate about.
it's a thing. And if you're going to be closed-minded of some stuff, or have the fear of judgment of your family or friends, then that keeps you from being who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It totally does. Right. So
it's
think
a
about
thing.
it.
Yeah,
And
and it's learning to not participating in that drama anymore either, and to be almost like an observer,
mm-hmm.
right? And kind of just going, okay, I can see, I can see it. Okay, thank you for showing me. I'm going to stay over here though.
Here. Bye.
You can go over
Yeah.
there and have your thing. I'm going to
Just
stay
gonna
over
go ahead and
here.
get out of here now. All right,
Look
I'm
at my
gonna go ahead and get
sunshine
out.
and rainbows.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's what that space is, though, is that you're honoring yourself enough to give it the space to let that other person then come to their own conclusions as to whether or not they want to be in your life, because you have presented what your life is now. Or now that you have presented what your life is, you are giving them an option rather than trying to constantly shove it down somebody's throat by having constant proximity. You're
Right.
actually going, okay, well, okay, so here's the deal. You go ahead and think about it. But right now, I need to take a minute for me to breathe so that I can reassess myself and how I want to reapproach whatever this is going on here. And we could come back together about it. But if you don't give people that time and yourself that time,
Right.
then you're just constantly headlong walking into the old patterns again. Because the old pattern was to beat it into submission. That's the old pattern, is to
Mm-hmm.
beat any other, again, beat what's different into submission. Because if it's different, then it's bad. It's different, it's dangerous. So you can't have that.
Right.
So you have to make it submit. You must make the different person, different things submit, because then they are safe. Then you have made them safe. Yeah.
Then there is order.
Uh-huh. You hear it? Are you hearing it? Yeah. It's fucked up, isn't it? But that's how we all got raised so much of the time, because that's what got passed down, because that's what got put in the collective consciousness for whatever reason, yada, yada, yada. We're not getting into Draco and all the rest of their stupid shit. Not today. We're not getting into Draco and Anunnaki today. It's fine. But that's it. But you have to give that space and present your truth. And then if it needs space, it needs space.
Here's the thing with that too, and I want to be very clear of, you don't even have to go, I am fill in the blank.
Da da da. Yeah, exactly. True. Absolutely.
You just be it.
Yep. That
And
too.
if no one else wants to participate, then that's on them
Yeah.
and not on you.
Bye bye, Billy. What is it? Bye, Felicia. You weren't interested? Okay, bye, Felicia.
And you move on. And that's how you just got to really, like, you got to hold your head high and just go, this is what I know is best for me.
Because you're an adult now.
Right.
Nobody knows what's best for you but you. And so, and if you think you know what's best for you and you go down a way and it turns out not to be the best thing for you, then guess what? You
You
learn.
change it. Yeah. And you get to change it. And you can
get to change it, because nothing's set in stone.
Right. Yeah. That's the great thing.
Oh my God.
Kind of.
You can choose for things to be set in stone, but that's a perspective. That's a belief.
Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
And it doesn't have to be bad.
No.
I mean, much like, personal boundaries, those can be set in stone, where you're like, these are lines that I'm personally not crossing to placate or make feel better or pander to another person.
Right.
I'm not going to worry, it's like, I'm not going to try so hard to change their opinion of me or what I'm doing by doing X, Y, and Z that everybody else is doing to prove themselves. That's not going to be something I do. And
Right.
that can be a hard and fast boundary. That could be like stone for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be. You can choose. Like you were saying, you can choose what you want your boundaries to be. You can choose what you want to represent yourself as.
Yeah.
And that can and is, in fact, supposed to change over time. I don't think you're supposed to stay the same person that you were when you're 20 or when you were 30. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that you're supposed to stay the same. That's
Right.
a good thing that you stay the same. It's like, you walk up to somebody and they go, oh my God, you haven't changed in 20 years. Really? That at least would be my face. Right?
Right.
I would be so
Well,
disappointed
yeah.
in myself. But that's just me. But it's just like, I don't think that we're supposed to stay the same, because then there's no growth, there's no evolution, nothing's died off and created new space for anything else.
Right.
The garden hasn't grown. It's no new flowers. It's all the same scraggly old shit that's always been trying to grow, and it's not working very well.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel it's just like you have to learn to evolve and to not carry the worries of judgment of what could come, or so and so is going to say this, or so and so has something to say about that. Everybody's always going to have to say something about something. I mean, we're here saying something about something too, right?
Yes, exactly. Good point. Well made.
You just got to move on.
Right.
You got to do what's best for you in your life. And you got to go, I want to make the change. If I want to go and dress and show my boobies off, well, then go for it.
Yeah, but knock yourself out, babe. Yeah. Because really, the only thing you're doing, in a sense, is you how do I say, you're hurting yourself more by not exploring that as an option than by, at the very least, trying it.
Right.
If you're curious about it, right? If it intrigues you, if it inspires you, like, you're literally only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
By not putting it into action in some form or way to try it yourself in some way,
Mhm.
to see if it fits on you, to see that if that version, that costume, that, perspective, that belief, see how that fits on you, more or less, right?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then
you
again,
gotta,
if you decide it doesn't fit, then it don't fit. But then you tried it at least, and then there's no question.
right. You gotta start somewhere and you gotta just try.
Mhm.
And you start from there and then you start knowing what you really want in your life. And even then, it changes.
I was gonna
And
say
as
that
long,
changes too.
yeah. I mean, we just talked about it before we went on how we want to change our web pages and this and that. And like how we're looking at our practice even is different.
Mm, very. It's like my practice is practically unrecognizable from when I started.
Yeah, totally. Yes. And I would say in the past month, it's been a whole almost 360.
Yeah, a whole nother ball game unto itself entirely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's okay to change. It's okay to break patterns and cycles and step away and to do what your heart wants you to do.
Hmm.
And just because they're family or people that you are so close to with that you just feel like I can't let them down or they did this for me or this, but they keep you in that
Hmm.
cycle or pattern. There's a time where you got to let people go. Right. And that's the stepping back for a minute and then just going, well, how is this relationship serving each other? Right.
Right.
Because people come and go for certain reasons in our life. And if we
Right.
hold on too much,
Right.
then there's that stagnant and like,
Right. Yeah. And even for instance, even the stepping away, that is its own time frame that you kind of decide within yourself, because it
mhm,
could take a day for you to sort yourself out and figure out, how you would like to speak on it or express yourself. It could take a week. It could take a month. It could take a year, you know? Like
right,
it doesn't matter in that sense, as long as as long as the work's being done, like as long as you're continuing to explore yourself and redefine yourself and figure out closer and closer as to who and what you truly are as an individual, as a soul, experiencing itself through physicality,
right.
which is all what we're doing here. That's all we're doing here. There's no big special purpose. You don't have a life purpose. Like, this one always cracks people up. It's like, you don't have a purpose. There's no grand, like, design in that sense
There is one
for you to live yourself as an experience to the best of your ability. And that's it.
to live with joy.
That's it. That's the same thing. It's saying the same
Right.
thing.
How do you live with joy?
Mhm.
I
How you
can't say it for
experience
you or
life.
you, right? You gotta
Right.
figure that out.
What do they call it now? Oh, they're calling it living your best life.
Living your best life.
That's what they call it now.
Ooh,
That's the new baby term for it. The
sure.
kiddo term for
Yeah.
it, right? Is living your best life. And that's a
Live
great way
your,
to put it,
oh yeah,
because
definitely. Live
you
your
you are
best life.
spirit, experiencing physical reality that you have created within yourself.
Hmm.
So the only point to it is to experience it and to
Right.
see how you interact, what opportunities you take, where that leads you, how excited that gets you, how much joy you find over here, being who you are. Because being who you are is what will bring you the most joy.
Right.
Because
And
you're
usually
literally,
that is
yeah,
changing everything about you sometimes.
it can be, because
Just about, yeah. Yeah.
what we came into is often in stark contrast to where we want on a soul level to have
Right.
ended up with this experience.
Mhm.
But that's the point, because you got to start from the dark to be able to appreciate when you get to the light.
Yep.
Because if you start out, it's like, for instance, real quick as we close it out, it's like we both know friends that never had issues with their parents. They never had those kinds of limitations to get over. They never had those kind of like mental like limitations. Like they never had that placed on them. They didn't choose to. It wasn't part of their game. But when you interact with them in that sense, they almost don't understand what it means then from this perspective to have had that kind of childhood and then now have broken all of those patterns and become your own person.
Mhm.
Like the amount of not just thrill, not just joy, but it's just like expansion that you
Yeah.
get from starting in the dark, quote unquote, right? So that is what the purpose of life is. That's just it. That's it. It's to experience it as you evolve from where you started to where you go.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be some like deep, all-encompassing thing that if, for instance, you're not fulfilling some expectation of that, then you're failing as a soul, as a person, you know? Because I think
Right.
a
You
lot
don't
of
have
people get
to
that
achieve this big high
right.
certificate or degree or a certain money in the bank account kind of
Hmm.
life. It's just literally like, hey, maybe you just make candles and you go to the market every Saturday and that's that. Like that's all you do and that's what makes you so happy and you live your
And you're
life
done.
and
Yeah,
that's
you're
it.
good.
That's okay. That is a great life if that's what you want. It's
Right.
whatever what you desire and to be in that and to not be held down by
Mhm.
that suppressive lifestyle anymore.
Yeah, the other expectation. Because
Yep.
it's literally living under somebody else's expectation of what their life probably should have looked like, but didn't.
Yeah.
In most cases, not in all. But it's like,
Right.
it's just so interesting why, it's when the clients come through, and I know you probably get this too, is that they always ask, why did I sign up for this? Let me see the fine print on that soul contract that I said that I was going to grow up with these abusive ass parents and get molested and this happened and this happened and abusive husband and all of these. Tell me where I signed that contract. That's always the question. Well, boo boo, you signed it before you got started because you knew that you could take that darkness and turn it into light. Start in the dark and end up finding yourself by letting it all go, exploring it, deciding whether or not you liked it, whether it was yours, and just letting the rest of it go to create more space for what is actually you. That's it. But that in and of itself is like the most exciting fucking thing that you could possibly do because, again, like you said, if it's your passion and your pleasure and your excitement and your joy to make fucking candles, there's
This
nothing more exciting. You know what I mean? Like coming up with new candle scents or, new patterns and new,
right.
it's like things,
Yeah.
designs. It's like there is like nothing that makes you happier. So why assume that there needs to be because of some spiritual ideal or social ideal that we got taught that are now co-entwined that really fucks a lot of people up.
Yeah.
What does Bashar say? It's one of my favorites. He says, "You all know enough metaphysics to be dangerous to yourselves." And I'm like, mm-hmm, he's right. Because we've gotten so into the spiritual community and creating that, which is a wonderful thing, but in and of itself has come with um, attached a lot of the old original belief systems.
Mm, yeah.
that came from the other society that they're trying to break away from. So a lot of times it's ends up inadvertently trapping people in a cycle of, trying to figure out what their purpose is, trying to figure out what their passion is, trying to figure out what their mission is, trying to, it's like, and they spend so much, I wouldn't say they waste so much time, but it's like they spend so much time searching for it, when if you just sat down and asked yourself, what would I prefer to be doing right now? What would make me happiest to do right now? That all of that stuff that you spend all of those years trying to figure out just evolves as a matter of course naturally,
Hmm.
without the stress, without the strain, without the expectation of there having to be something there. It creates it something
Yeah.
just by following it. But I think what's happened that's causing a lot of family strife too is that in and of itself.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. It puts strain.
Because then you can't find compromise because we're taught what? That different is bad.
Hmm.
Doing things differently, doing things unusually, not going to be successful, going to be poor, going to be bad. Da, 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 da.
Right.
So we have to find our purpose. We have to find our spiritual alignment. We have to. And then that causes a lot of tension. Like we talked about in a previous podcast about leveling up with your partner.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. Family, significant other, kids, it all applies.
Yep.
Your face does.
It's just a part of the whole human experience. And when you come to that, you go, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot less stressful. It's a lot less, you don't have to put the expectations on yourself. You can put an expectation
Sure.
and boundary of I'm going to do this and this and that,
You can
but you
create
also have
personal
to be
goals that you're
flexible
interested in. Yeah.
to know that if it doesn't work out the way you think it's going to work out, then you go, oh, okay, I can change my viewpoint on that. I can be flexible to that. I can let that go. I can hold on to that one for a little bit. I can da 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 da. Right? It's just
Yeah. It's the compromise within yourself too. And not giving, like, not compromise as in sacrifice,
no.
but compromise as in going, oh, okay, well, this is something I can do here, or I can do it here, or I can try this, or what really aligns with me? Do I feel good about this? How, like, what do they think? Where can we find a common ground if there's one to be found so
Hmm.
we can move forward, or else pull back and refigure it out if you need to,
Right.
not just.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a very interesting conundrum.
It is. It's an up and down, messy. There is no black and white, right or right.
Mm-mm.
It's because every single situation, every single person is different. Every family is different. There's so many layers to it. And to unravel all of them and to go through, especially if you choose to step away
Right.
from those family lines, then you got to refine yourself. And that's really, it's hard to do and easy at the same time.
Yeah. It's
It's
interesting
easy
because,
to do
yeah,
because you know it's for yourself, but it's hard because that is a family or a loved one that you have connection with and that you have, I don't know, maybe let me think about that. Like, oh wait, no,
I was like, no,
no,
not
I'm just
necessarily.
kidding. See, you just go, oh,
But there's the thing though, is that, okay, for instance, we could even take my own life experience as an example, is that I know that I'm not directly part of the soul group that my parents are part of.
yeah,
Obviously, we're all part of the same oversoul, all blah 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 blah, all part of the one. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But as far as like when the groups branch off into other groups, like when the major oversoul branches itself into multiples again, I'm not part of that one. That's not where my branch, like that's not where my, like if oversoul is a hand, right? You got two hands, like I'm from this hand over here. They are from this hand over here. Obviously, we're still connected to the one, but we originate from two different perspectives, two different places,
Mm-hmm.
two different sets of perspective. I, however, still have had ingrained, despite that, despite me knowing day one, I swear, at least my mom swears that I, have always been, what did she say? Obstinate. And I have always fought with her since day one, which tells me what? That I am not part of her soul group. I am not buying into her bullshit, whatever that is, right? Like whatever that human sociological past, it's like whatever. It's like I'm not buying into it. Well, at some point, I started to buy into it because it had been repeated over and 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 over for years. That blood is thicker than water.
Oh
You
yeah.
don't abandon your family. Your family is all you have. Really? But you see what I'm saying? It's like, so even if you knew from day one and you were that black sheep and you were the one that was like, constantly fighting against all the old shit, you can still get drug into it
Mm-hmm.
through repetition. You can still be made to submit through repetition so that you will be accepted, so that you will be taken care of. Whatever, whatever the reason is when we're kids that we finally just accept our fucking world, right? But now, knowing that I came from point A, went to point B, I am now at point C, going to point D, which is an original reflection of point A, but in no way the same. But somewhere in there, the reason it's not the same is because I am having to redefine what that obligation to family, quote unquote, actually means.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that, again, that you can't come back together after X amount of time, which it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year, it could be 20, like that one case, right?
Right.
There's always the opportunity to reconnect in that sense, though you can't kind of bank on it. You just have to go and understand that's like you're doing your best to be the best you that you're being.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's that much resistance to it, consistent, repetitive, what do I want to say? It's like almost like slave driver like resistance. It's very
Right.
obstinate. It's like very stubborn resistance. Then you have to decide for yourself whether or not it's worth it to stick around in that resistance for your own growth, or if you just need to pack up your shit, or somewhere in between, or if you just need to set a boundary. But
Yeah.
that's something that you have to assess for yourself as part of those growing pains that you're doing, that you're interacting with your family and your significant others.
Mm-hmm. It's a ebb and flow, right? Flowing
The
it up.
flow, just like you said. So it's possible. It's possible to be your own person within a unit. It's possible to be your own person independently.
Yep.
But you just have to be aware of what you as a person is actually representing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not representing to other people, but how you are representing yourself to yourself. Are you being true to yourself? Or are you
Mhm.
stuffing stuff down and ignoring it, or putting it to the side, or saying you'll deal with it later, or, it's like, are you being true to you, or are you putting stuff off because whatever reason, one way or the other, to stay in some other comfortability for somebody else because you think you have an obligation to them to keep them comfortable?
Right.
Good question.
It's a good one.
So hopefully that helps you guys. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of maybe a navigational chart in a sense.
Yeah. You gotta check it out for yourself. You gotta try. You gotta try somewhere. You gotta start somewhere.
You said it. Got to start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere.
So why not today? Here
It's a
we are
good
in
one.
the middle of the year. Actually, we're already past the middle of the year now. So what will you choose for the rest of it? Will you
Yeah.
choose to be yourself and honor that? And whatever space you may need to take to do so as you figure that out? Or are you going to continue to try and pound a square peg into a round hole just because you think you're obligated to do so?
Nope.
You can do either one. It's really up to you. The choice is yours. Right?
The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Just kidding.
But really, so hopefully this helped you guys. It gave you a little bit of a navigational chart as to how maybe some perspectives to consider, and maybe some questions to ask yourself as you go through that journey of self-discovery and go, okay, so really, who am I responsible to and for, really,
Yeah.
as an adult, as my own person? Questions, right?
Yeah.
So explore those. If you have any furthers on this topic or any other depth of explanation, situations, things like that, you can always drop them in the comments below. We love hearing from you guys. We've got platforms on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Play, and our main podcast hub is Anchor. So go check us out on all of those wonderful platforms. Like, subscribe, and share. We love hearing from you. If this helped you, if you'd like, again, to hear any other particular topics or more on this one, please do share that with us because we love adding stuff to the bowl that we can help you guys out with. Don't get us wrong, we love talking about just about anything, but it would be awesome if we could help you while we're at it.
What we're here for.
That's right. So hopefully you have a great rest of your day. Take a moment to yourself and assess. Give yourself a moment. Give yourself a breath. See where you're really at. See what you really want. See who you really are. And then reapproach situations. See where you can't find compromises. Because different is good. Different is beautiful. It is like the multifaceted crystal gem of creation. So if we're constantly going around and telling other people that the way that they are expressing themselves as a multifaceted gem of creation is wrong and punishable by death, get the fuck out of here.
Goodbye.
That's some old ass shit right there. That's some draconian, old Orion ass shit. We done with that. Hell, the Orions are done with it. So why can't we be done with it? The Orions are done playing that game. Like, why should we be done playing that game? Like, they're not even playing that game anymore. They're like, oh, okay, we're done. We're good. We played Monopoly to death. It's great. Maybe that'll be our next topic. What are the ETs up to these days? All right, you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Like, subscribe, share, and all the wonderful things. And we will see you next time.